Um, for those joining, my name is Chandali. I go by Chandali the Esthetician on YouTube. I create content for estheticians who are trying to grow their businesses. Really, I started aesthetics
Ah,
because can you hear me? Can you hear? Can you give me like a heart or something in the chat if you can hear me? Because I can't tell, and y'all know I'm girl. Listen, old out here, okay? Thank you. Okay, I can hear you. I got it. Perfect. So I started aesthetic school really out of a passion to help myself with my own skin. I struggled finding beauty in my skin. I really just I didn't know what to do, right? And so, like many of us, we go to school because we want to work on an issue. And so I found myself in the journey and I documented everything about school from the first day of school to owning my own business, running a podcast, working with brand
until I
companies,
find out.
all of that fun stuff. And so we're going to be talking about all of that fun stuff, right? Like, what is it to put yourself out there on social media? What is it to build a following? And how can it help you grow your business?
Yes, thank you so much for joining us today. So I did get a couple of questions ready. So obviously it was the introduction. If you can tell us a little bit about yourself. Okay, when did you start using social media as a tool? Obviously the beginning was so hard. How did you not get discouraged? And then when did you finally see it paying off?
Ooh, okay. A lot to
Unpack.
break down with that. No, I love it. I love it because that's like all of it kind of goes together. So, transparently, I started using social media as a tool quite some time ago. Like all the way back when Facebook Live became a thing. I used to own a business, a beauty supply store in my city. I'm in Kansas. For anybody, shout out to the Kansas people. No? Okay, cool. But if you are in Kansas, shout out. But no, anyone. So I owned a business in Wichita, Kansas, and I was struggling so much to get people in the doors. Like it just was not happening, right? And I didn't have a marketing budget. Yes, Jerica's in Kansas. Let's go. I didn't have a marketing budget. I pretty much had my phone and that was it. So I started posting Facebook Lives. And somebody was like, "Hey, you're a content creator." And I was like, "No, I'm literally just trying to get people in the door. Come buy this wig." And I ended up closing my business because I just struggled so much. But what I didn't struggle in was telling a story with my business and getting a lot of buy in that way. And so I kept creating content, and it really just led me to doing so many fun things like going on Food Network. I did a TV show called Worst Cooks in America because I'm
OMG.
not a great cook. Okay. So I did that on Food Network. It was so fun making content with them, and I continued my YouTube channel. And I was probably seeing about 1,000 subscribers, so nothing too crazy. And then I went to school for aesthetics, and that's really when I started seeing my YouTube channel grow. Posting my journey, I think, was so helpful for people because a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, but people sometimes don't talk about their struggles. People aren't talking about like how hard it actually is to do it. And that's what I was dealing with. And so I just kept talking about it and talking about it. And like things kept getting better. I don't know if I can cuss, so I'm sorry, but shit got better, y'all. Okay. It got better. And my content got better. I started building a community of other estheticians who were like, "Hey, I'm struggling too. What's working for you?" Um, and I've just been very fortunate to grow using content.
It's literally a muscle. It's like literally a muscle. 100%. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And if you
Yeah.
wait for perfect, totally. What kind of content strategies do you recommend perform best for beauty professionals? So I'm a brand new esthetician. There's the two questions. Brand new esthetician. I'm setting up my profile. What should I put on my profile to get the better audience? Like obviously, like it drives me crazy when I don't see a book it button or at least a call to something. So what do you recommend for beauty professionals we're putting up our thing? Let's do a little social media audit. First question, what should we have on our Instagram or TikTok profile?
Yeah, so when we're talking about Instagram or TikTok, anything like that, you're gonna wanna make sure you're utilizing like a creator space, right? Something to know about some of these algorithms is that if you're using the business profile, that actually doesn't allow you to post all types of music. So it allows your reels are limited. So really working with a creator type profile is gonna be the best way to start out. The algorithm really likes to push that type of content. And then also making sure you're leaving your location. You've got information of how people can book. And in the bio, really talking about a good hook to why people are here. What can they expect in like a small snapshot? So like on mine literally says, I help others put themselves first. So anybody who's looking at my content has a really good idea that I'm going to do something that's going to help you prioritize yourself. Maybe that is self care. Maybe that's something to do with being a mom. Maybe that's something with my business. Those things are just non negotiables. You can't create a platform or a profile without really giving your audience a direction of how you want to funnel them. So if you want to be contacted via leads or email or booking, you've got to have those things up there.
So what kind of things do you prefer? I'm like, oops. Do you think beauty professionals should be posting? Should be doing before and after pictures? Like, how do you get your content scheduled together?
Okay, this is a two-parter because the first thing is you want to get a schedule together, but then you don't know what you want to post, right? So the two kind of kill each other because if you don't know what you want to post, you're not going to be
You okay, Mom?
consistent. Taylor, we can hear you. Hi, Taylor. But yes, if you don't know what you're going to post, we have no idea of what your content's going to be. So what I recommend is that you really figure out like how do you want to show up? If you don't know what you're good at making, you're going to have to try a couple of things. You're going to have to try some before and afters. You're going to have to try some reels. You're going to have to try some long form content just to figure out what works best because as you do it more, that creates consistency because you get better. But the recommended rule of thumb is going to be something like where you post one post content and two types of reels per week, ideally on Instagram. So far, according to how their information breaks down, that's kind of a really good posting schedule. But my truthful opinion on this is post what you can do the best at the max that you can do the best. So if your best is one bomb ass video, right? Like it's just such a good video, you do that and you post that. And if they have to wait another week for you to post that again, as long as it's great, because when we start posting lazy content, that's the content that doesn't really take off, and your audience can recognize that inauthenticity.
Oh, so no lazy content. I'll be truthful. I totally post lazy content.
It's natural too, because we have Chat GPT and we're like, oh my gosh, let me just get something up. But really, if it's not serving a message, it's not getting you anything, it goes unnoticed.
So you're more about intentional, like quality over quantity.
Quality over quantity for sure. And I just think like a certain level of it is you have to be free with it. So don't put so much pressure on yourself to create perfect content because we're not perfect. And then post that and see how that does.
So this is actually a big question that we get in the group. So I want
Uh-huh.
to encourage anybody, if you guys have any questions specifically in this topic about creating reels or content, you guys are more than welcome to turn on your mics or put it in the chat. This might be a question for another video, but what light/photo stands are you using for filming facial content? That's a good question.
Not a question for another video, Susan. This is the light that I'm using. It is a ring light. And this is really just a pretty traditional light. I also have over here a Cosmo Glow light. I do like the Cosmo Glow light. I'm actually an ambassador with Cosmo Glow, so I'll get the discount code. 'Cause sorry, I don't know it off the top of my head, but um, I like those because they give me a really good lighting. I also like to utilize backlighting. So we're gonna talk about like this is like what I would consider like a backlighting because it adds like a little ambiance in the back, so it creates dimension in the content that I create. It gives a vibe, it gives a mood. I also have a neon sign, like little things like that are some of the lighting setups that I like to use. There's all types of lights though that you can buy. Glamcore has lights, there's like apertures that you can use, but in reality, I think sometimes we overcomplicate it and we're like, I can't make a video until I have the best lighting. Not true. You can post with the lighting that you have and it will be okay. I promise you, it really will be okay. Tons of people are doing it, and when you get to a place where you can upgrade your lighting, do it. If you're already at that place, those are some really good tools to invest in. I have my lighting set up on my Amazon store. So if you go to my YouTube channel, Chandali the Esthetician, I've got all of my information over there. So that's a good question. Because yeah, if you're filming facial content, you want it to look really crisp. You want it to look really good. In addition to that question, Susan, I'm often asked, like, what am I using to film? I do have a camera. I have a Canon M50. And you know what I found with that? It actually made making content a little bit more challenging because there was a lot more steps as opposed to just editing on my phone, chopping the content up the way that I needed to, and getting it posted. So you really want to try to create in a way that works for you. What is going to be a way that you can show up and do it? Not a way that somebody else does it and you know it works really well for them, but you've got to find what works well for you and live in that space. And then I do want to back up because I did see some other questions. Susan, if that doesn't answer your question, girl, ping me. Let me know, okay? Because I want to make sure I'm getting it answered. I turned my video and voice on, but I sound like someone's uncle today. I'm sick. I can hear you. That is so funny. I actually want to talk to Maria, if you don't mind, about something that I struggled with when I first started making content, and it was the sound of my own voice. I don't know if it's just me who every time I hear my own voice, I'm like, what is that nails on a chalkboard? Like, what's going on? Like, why is it so screechy in here? But I really struggled editing content. Like just hearing myself talk, I would be like, oh my gosh, I say like so many times. It's a natural thing. And what really allowed me to get out of my space for like creating YouTube videos, and YouTube actually is a source of income for me. So I wanted to get good at it. What allowed me to get out of my way with that was I would record everything, y'all. Everything. Stuff that would never see the light of day ever. You could not pay me enough money to post it. But I just had to get that out of my system so that I could get used to it. And as I did it more often, I finally was just like, okay, well, this is what I sound like. So hello world. And you just kind of move on, if that makes sense.
Did you ever struggle with like image or like I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way like all of it? Cuz I find myself super struggling all the time with like, oh my god, I just don't like the way I look. Oh my god, I don't like what I'm wearing.
Yeah, I mean, me today, literally, I was like, okay, I like to keep my hair braided, right? So when I don't feel like I'm showing up as my best self, I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't look at me. I'm a troll today. But uh I finally kind of just got to a place, just for transparency, y'all. I'm 33. Yes, I'm 33. Sometimes I forget my age. I'm 33. So I've kind of been here a little bit. And I just finally got to a place where it's like, this is what I look like. I don't know what else to do. Like, I can't be somebody else. If I like, I can go out and work out more, I guess. Like I've got to be where I'm at and I've got to be okay with who I am. And so I show up makeupless. I actually want to talk about a content project that helped me get to this place. So before I was an esthetician, I would make content. And one of the things I would do is I would post on Instagram with no makeup. And you have to understand, like, I hated doing that because I was a YouTube girly who made wig reviews and things like that. And like, they're like beat the face down, like beat the house down type looks, right? Like, it's just giving. And I felt I had to do that to be relevant in that space. And that's not true, first of all. But number two, it was a pressure I was putting on myself. So I started posting every day, and I would just take like a selfie. I'd be like, hey. And it was stupid, right? Nobody cared. It was very selfish content. But you know what it did for me is it allowed me to just see myself on that platform the way that I am. And eventually everybody got comfortable with it too. People stopped asking me if I was sick. Like, it's like, no, I'm not sick. I just don't have no makeup on and this is what I look like every day. Okay. um, because that is what happens, right? You start to build that up. And so no, um, I mean, yes, I did feel that way, but I'm so glad to be in a place where it's just like, this is what I look like, marks and all, hair done, not done. I'm still showing up. Uh, I don't apologize for it on my YouTube channel. My subscribers, what they see is what they get. I was like, you came here to learn, not to talk about me. Okay. So that has really helped me.
What type of videos tend to perform the best? So, because before when you were like, because when you're saying like, oh, I had to get beat down and all this, like, do you think that I personally find that when you're more vulnerable and no makeup, those kind of perform really well?
The videos that perform the best are really moments where I'm so transparent. Like, it's struggle moments, it's moments of behind the scenes, it's moments of me sharing like those downfalls and those vulnerable moments, but also natural face. Natural face does really well. I I don't feel like my audience now comes because I'm done it. They come because they like me. They just want to see me do well. They're like, "Dang, girl, you keep going and I'm going to hit the like button. I support you." Or I'm going to leave a comment because I see myself in you. And those videos do well. But truly, the videos that do really well are the ones that serve your audience. So, less about you entirely. Actually, that's why I show up the way I do because ain't nobody worried about me. They want to know, they want to know how I'm going to help them fix their camera settings, right? Like, how can I get you a microphone that's $20 that's going to be really well, and do capture what you want? How am I going to get you posting your first reel ever? Like, we're talking about making Hollywood content and we ain't made a video yet, right? So we've got to get out of our own way. It has nothing to do how I even look. But I will say this, that if you do feel that pressure that you have to show up that way, I challenge you to push yourself outside of that comfort zone and just live in that space for a little bit. It's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna feel so weird. You're gonna hate it. You're gonna want to take it down immediately. Don't. Let it live. It's gonna survive its 24 hours on the algorithm, and nobody's gonna remember it. And you'll survive.
Vanessa raised her hand. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Okay, what about for like maybe for someone who doesn't really want to put themselves out there? Like some pages are so like it's like people talk more about them sometimes and what they do versus like their services. What about for someone who's just more like an approach is just like I want to show my services. I don't kind of want to make this about like me more in a way.
Mhm.
Because I know like with Brazilian like waxes, if that's what you specialize in, like Amazon, I mean Amazon, sorry. Instagram like flags it or like says we're not gonna show it out to people. Like, do you still recommend like kind of making it like attract clients by putting more you in it so that they could see your work? Or I'm sorry,
Yeah.
am I making sense?
No, please don't say sorry. Those are great questions because honestly, that question that you have, like so many people have this question, right? That's why faceless content is doing so well because people are just like showing them carrying a cup and it's great, right? They're loving it. In regards to your business specifically, there are some ways to get creative with this. I definitely recommend voiceover content, Vanessa. Voiceover content can really save you a ton because you can do a lot of fun things with this. You could do pouring the wax, doing a voiceover. Sometimes I get lost pouring wax beads, right? Because we do. It sounds so therapeutic to us. We love it. Mixing the wax. This is the prep for my client to come. So now you're not showing yourself at all, but you're giving that emotion. You're invoking that emotion of getting a wax. Some other things that people have tried, and I don't know if you do Brazilians, if that's like a type of content you want to highlight specifically. But some people have done reaction posts, which are really fun. And some of my mentees that I work with, that's what I tell them to do. I'm like, don't show because getting a Brazilian like is scary, right? Like, if no one's ever done it, I know you have first time clients where you're trying to work them up to it. So show that reaction of your first time client if they're down and you've got a friend or a niece or a cousin or somebody who hasn't done it, and say like, girl, today we're gonna just show your face. And it's a little bit of pain, people want to see it. It satisfies that desire of wanting to see content, but you're not overtly doing something that violates the Instagram guidelines. That's a great idea. You can go into the depth of talking about the knowledge behind Brazilians. I would just really say, look at other people who are doing something similar, right? See what you like about it and see if there's any way that you can adapt it to what you're doing, but in a way that like still puts you in it. So if it's your voice, then that's your emotional string to it a little bit more than like using Chat GPT to literally write you a caption that you haven't like fed it anything to give an emotional point of difference, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question? Like, do you want more detail on that though?
No, that was good advice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, of course.
I'm
And I
taking
think,
okay.
what did you say?
I said, I'm taking notes. I said faceless content. So I'm going to write a whole thing about what to do for faceless content. Just be on the lookout.
Yeah, and go down the rabbit hole of faceless content on TikTok because I feel like TikTok is a space platform wise that does this really well. Where they're just showing like a day in the life of them getting going and setting up and doing all of those things. And you'd be surprised how many clients are coming because they see the building, they see the space. They are not seeing you wax anybody. Some people are doing labia strips. We're like, look at these patches we're taking off of people. Like, it's crazy, right? They're showing that, and that's working well too.
I just want to make sure, does everybody understand what faceless content is? You could say yes or no in the chat.
Yeah, and let me explain it too, because for those who don't know, faceless content is really any type of content that you're doing that doesn't show your face, but still is giving like a really good example of something you're trying to create. So I do a lot of faceless content when I do facial videos. Because it'll just start out like you don't even see me ever on the video. It's literally from start to finish, me doing whatever service it is for my client. Which I guess we could talk about the objection of clients not wanting to be on video, because that is an obstacle too, especially when we have to gain permission and consent for photo release forms. One, if you are capturing content for anybody, you do need to be asking for that release. I don't care who it is. It could be your bestest best friend. Like, you need to have something on file just for your own, peace of mind. But number two, if people aren't wanting to be on video, this is when I say you kind of have to get a little creative, right? A couple of things you can do with this situation. So the first thing that you can do is a model call. I know a lot of people don't like to do model calls because they're like, I don't feel like I should have to give a video. I shouldn't have to do that. But here's the reality. If you don't have anyone saying yes to it because all of your clients just don't want to do that, totally fine. But you've got to find some people. And in those model calls, Maria, I think you actually mentioned something too about utilizing like an influencer.
Yeah.
Something like that is perfect.
Yeah, I personally have built my business off of social media influencers, where I record them and then we post it. So it's kind of like a trade, and then they end up actually becoming my clients, and then they refer. It's like a whole ecosystem out here.
It really is. Sometimes you can get people hooked. Like okay, a great example. I had a commercial that I had to shoot for my business the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I ran like a very small, tight knit model call. I didn't even like post it really all crazy. I was really just trying to target like a couple people. And I asked them to come in if they would be willing to be in my commercial for me. I'd do a facial for them. They ended up becoming clients literally right after. They keep booking facials. They can't stop coming. And it was just a good trade. And that was such a low consumable for me. And you know what? I took so many videos. I got a commercial out of that deal. So like I was able to then turn around and leverage that for more content. So
I do model call. I like model calls, especially if I'm going to get in a new provider, because it helps me, one, trade my provider, pay for my provider, and we get a ton of content. So content.
It's a win-win, right? Like, yeah, I agree. I like that. Another thing though too is like, let's say you are doing the model calls, you like that, but maybe it's not hitting home the way that you want. You can do some other things where like maybe you're just a little bit more intentional about how do you go about doing a model call? Great question. So you're really intentional about how you do the model call. Here's what I recommend. And I actually got this tip on my podcast, Skin is In. I was interviewing who was it again? Because gosh, it was such a good tip. I think it was Renee Rillo, but I was interviewing her and I was like, what is something that's working for you? And she literally said something that she does is she will ask her clients, if you know somebody, that's how she'll gain a client that way because it's a referral system. Her client's already getting the service or whatever. So, I mean, they're already a client, but then she's using somebody who's probably going to be a little bit more invested because their friend comes, they get to try the service. And now you've got somebody who's really bought into your business instead of just being like, anybody who wants a facial, come see me. You're just a little bit more exclusive. So that's a really good way to add some exclusivity to your model call is asking current clients for referrals that you could reach out to. And not just like look, when I say a referral, I don't mean like, oh, do you know anybody? I mean, can you open a group text conversation right now with me in it saying my esthetician needs a model for XYZ. I know we've been talking about getting you in here. Would you be down? Now your client seems like a hero, right? Because they just got this really cool deal for their friend, and friends love to go to the same person. That's literally a thing. So now you've built a little bit more of a reliable reach out than just a random Joe off the street.
Friend, they do like to go to the same person. Actually, that's now that I think about it, that's like genius. You're like, do you know anybody? And they're like, yeah, I do. And then like they're like the coolest person in the world because you gave them the hookup.
That's right. Yeah. When Renee told me that, I was like, wait, what? And I tried it for the Christmas season. I gained so many clients doing it. I did 10 client reach outs where my clients were able to use these people as like a Christmas gift to them, but they had to be so insanely specific. Like you cannot just do it for anybody. Like it has to be someone who's capable of keeping up with treatments. And your clients think about it. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't just tell you this person because they're a busy person and they wouldn't come. They really take it seriously. And that's such a better referral than just when you get a chance, tell somebody who does your skin. Like that's not enough. You need to really give them a motivation. And I'm telling you that tip, Renee knows what she's talking about. That tip was so helpful. I can't even take credit for it. And that's one of the things too, is you can learn from so many other people. So
So
100%.
we did have a couple of people join a little bit late. So
Oh, cool. Hi.
over how to build a strong portfolio. We'll give them 3 quick tips on must-haves they have to have on their social media to make sure that they're getting booked and visible and they're using social media for the business tool that it should be.
You got to have somewhere for people to book you. Number one, right? You got to have that as your portfolio. Another thing, who you are. Why are people coming to you? I do recommend some type of about me. It doesn't have to be super long, but something simple like that. And then lastly, I would really say just like a comfortability with you creating content and just saying like, I'm going to try this as hard as I possibly can. And I'm okay if it's not successful because I'm going to keep trying. And if you give it those things, you're going to do okay. It's the people who try and then it doesn't pan out and they're like, I'm never posting again. Ugh,
Yeah,
those people kill me.
How important are hashtags?
Hashtags are important. I mean, I think you just need to be very specific. You can get shadow banned. Shadow ban is when a hashtag is used overly to the point that Instagram no longer promotes that content, or other algorithms, not just Instagram, TikTok, things like that. So hashtags are important, but they need to be very relevant. I keep them short, and even be strategic. Like think about Instagram now tells you how many people follow a hashtag. So if it's 100 million people, you're probably not going to get any relevance with that hashtag.
Oh,
But if it's like 10,000 people, that's a much better hashtag to reach out to. Like esthetician lifestyle hashtag is a hashtag that's used often. I wouldn't necessarily say that's the hashtag to use because everybody uses it. So if you could say something where it's more like esthetician lifestyle for solo estheticians, bam, or customized facial for dry skin. I know it seems like you're not reaching as many people, but you actually are reaching people who are designed for you. And if you're reaching people who are designed for you, those people have more likelihood to turn into dollars for you.
yeah. This is a good one that we talked about earlier. How should beauty professionals handle both positive and negative feedback on social media?
You know, we did talk about this earlier. We could be here all day on that. It's a win. It comes with the territory. There's going to be so much positive feedback that you get from creating content. People are going to be like, "Oh my gosh, that looks amazing. I got to come book that service." And then there's going to be people like, "Why aren't you wearing gloves?" Or, "Why did you why did you wear that shirt?" or whatever it is. And so uh in knowing that, you have to really just know that it's going to come with the territory. You decide which you give energy towards. Um there's a lot of different things that you can do. You can block people. People are like, don't do that. What? I'm not wasting my time looking at stuff that doesn't serve me. I don't care who you are. I don't care. I will block you. Do not try me. And I tell people that, like, I'm the one. I am, because I'm who I am. So if you come to me and you're attacking what I love, then I take that personally. But also, you have to understand a certain element is business. So you have to know when to walk away and be like, can't please everybody, and let it go. A lot of it is going to be a combination of both. And the more that you do it, the more comfortable you are in that space and you can handle it.
What is your long-term strategy for social media?
Oh, yeah. So my long-term strategy for social media is super simple. It's make friends. Like, I know that sounds silly, but I post content for like people like me. I post content for girls who are getting it out the mud, who are grinding, who have started from zero, who, like, if you follow my story, you will know that I've built my you will know that I built my following simply from like seriously seriously from nothing. Like, I went to school, I had no idea how I was going to pay for school. I had negative $27 in my bank account, and I literally signed up for school with no idea how I was going to do it. Talk like I was just walking on faith. And so it just is one of those things where you really have to connect with your audience base. And so my long form strategy is to be myself. And if I continue to build a community of people like that, then it's only people who want to see me do well in my community. So I don't make content for people who don't like my content, because I tell them to leave. If you don't want to be here, it's okay. It's you know how people say, and I think we talked about this, not everybody's your client. Not everyone is someone for your audience. They're not there for that, and it's okay.
That's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, I know, because we associate success with like likes or views or following and subscriber count, but when you really think about it at its core, like if you had 10 core clients that never cancel, they always show up, they always rebook, the card on file works. Like, you have these people, you nurture those people. That's so much better than 100 flaky people who you never can rely on. You don't know what's going to happen. They come when it's a seasonal change out. They don't really respect your business that way. So you have to think about who you're catering to, and that's who you show up for.
Oh, there is a really good question. Hold on.
Yeah. It's so hard to keep up with the chat at the same time. I'm like, I'm trying, you guys.
Somebody had said they're ready to go solo and they have no clients. What do you recommend?
Okay, well, congratulations, because I will tell you, getting to the mental headspace of going solo, if you're anything like me, is really hard, because you just go back and forth on if this is what you want to do. I am curious about a little bit of insight on the idea of going solo without clients just yet, just because that can be an obstacle. Full transparency, y'all don't hate me. I personally don't preach going solo out of school. I only preach going solo if you really felt like you have done enough to gain clients in a way that you can stand on your own in that.
I agree
Do you
with
know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. I would say I try to go solo and I was not ready and I went back to work for somebody else. But that was just mine. I know people who've worked, but for me, no. So somebody, they're in school, they're ready to go solo. How can they start using social media as a tool while they're working for somebody else to build their clientele, or at least to build a presence?
Yeah. So if it's somebody who's wanting to build a presence, you can still utilize this information. Like you can still utilize content while you're working somewhere else by showing some of those day in the life point of views, showing some of the things that are working really well from you. What you're learning about the services that you can offer. Like some people like to take a point of position where they're sharing as an expert. I know we get imposter syndrome because we're like, oh my gosh, do we cleanse for a minute? Like, I don't know. People are gonna tell me you're not supposed to. It's so crazy. But if it's your truth and that's what you believe, then walk in that purpose and be comfortable with it. But going solo after school, I still want to just on it. It's hard. It's so hard. I'm not saying it's not doable. I'm not even trying to manifest it being hard for you. I'm telling you the reality of when rent hits, y'all. It's crazy. And you think about making rent for your home. My wife said this, shout out to my wife, and my amazing son. But my wife said this, she was like, think about paying your rent for your home or your mortgage for your home, and then turning around and doing it for something you completely elected to do. That's the level of go get it that it takes. And so if you don't have any clients, let me tell you what I do on days I don't have clients because it happens. I'm fully self-employed, just so you guys know. I went solo in June of last year. I was working 2 jobs beforehand. I was building a clientele utilizing my job, so I'm very fortunate for that, and social media. But here's what I do. This is how I use social media. All of the people that I'm friends with on Facebook are what we consider in the industry warm leads, okay? Warm leads are people that you have access to some way, shape, or form. They're your friend, so they are a warm lead. Whether you've talked to them in person or not, you have a way to directly connect with them. That is a lead. I reach out to 100 people a day, any day that I don't have a client. I really want that to sink in because that is hard. The first time I started, I gave up at 10. I was like, this is too many people to talk to. Nobody's even responding to my messages. They think I'm spamming them. But I was just like, hey, just reminding you guys, I do facials in the area. I'm letting you know about some of the summer specials. I'm actually, if let me see if I could find a message of a lead that I send because it's so insanely specific. It sounds like I'm continuing a conversation. I'm like, oh yeah, about that customized facial. It's 1 hour long. They literally have not asked me about it at all. I reach out to 100 people a day when I don't have clients, and it's hard. It took
How
me
many out of those 100, how many book an appointment?
so the first time, let me tell you, because this is really exciting. So the first time I could only reach out to 10, 5 people booked an appointment. I reached out to 10, 5 booked the first time. So
That's
I
a
was
lot.
like, dang, okay, this is awesome. Like, this is so cool. So then I reached out to 30 the second day, and I had 12 people book an appointment. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Now, only 2 of those people, and as you go on, you get more people who answer it because you figure out a little bit more of a method of how you're reaching out to people. Um, of those people, I ended up retaining 2 clients, which seems like not a lot, right? Because that's really not in the grand scheme of things, but it was a lot when I have 0 clients on that day. That just changed to 2 clients that I've now had for 6 months. And that's reoccurring clients that came in from a free effort, from a $0 day. From a $0 day, that's what that came from. So it's really about mentality a little bit there. I'm not knocking anybody who doesn't do it, but if you don't do 100, do 20 and really give yourself that push. And if you do 20, you see some success with that, do 30, do 40, do 50. Now that's not sustainable, but while you're in that stage of growing, if you've got downtime, then you've got time to message people. And that's how you can use social media as another format. So
100%.
Yeah.
Would you recommend to hire someone to do your videos? Like people know how to make those really good videos to post on social media.
Yeah, actually, the best money I ever spent as soon as I opened my business, I had been working at some spas, some med spas, things like that. I saw what they were doing. They weren't doing it well. Not knocking anybody. I'm just saying like they weren't doing it, right? So I was like, well, that's not really helpful. But what the places were doing well, they had hired content creators to come in and shoot a video. So I was like, I'm gonna hire a photographer. So what? I had no clients. Had zero clients. But I was like, I'm gonna hire a photographer and I'm gonna do the best dang facial I have for free for this model. And I'm going to capitalize on this. And I released that video and I had clients, I had people like, where is this place at? How do I get in there? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is doing really well. That video cost me $100.
Oh,
And I built my business in the beginning off of that. And then you know what? I ended up keeping a relationship with my photographer where we do some trades every once in a while now. I give facials to his wife and to him and all of that stuff. And they come in every once in a while, they shoot some content. So work where your budget is. If you are not great at making content, then you might want to budget for having a photographer come in and you don't have to get too crazy. I did 1 hour session, and that 1 hour session is what people find when they pull up my Google page. It's a video of me doing services. So they're like, oh, this is nice, right? They can kind of get the feel right there. Best $100 I've spent.
do you recommend scheduling content?
Uh, I personally, I've tried it both ways. I did like a Planoly thing. I did some schedule later, Hootsuite. Back when all that I did that, there's a level of it that I like where sometimes we just don't make anything. But the struggle with it is that you just lose that last minute, like, hold on, let me just put a little bit more behind this post before it goes up. And sometimes you don't even know it is posted and you go back and you're like, oh darn, I forgot I posted that. So I recommend it if you really know what you're doing with it. In the beginning, if you've got downtime, like give it that intention. You know what I mean? Like post it from that place of like, and share and throw your phone, right? Walk away, run around like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did it. Don't delete it though.
Don't delete it.
Don't delete it.
This is an interesting question. What about hashtags that are trademarked? Like the girl whose hashtag is STBestie, and she's been suing people and sending them letters, etc.
Look, you have to be so careful, y'all. Like, so I won't speak on that specifically. What I will speak on allegedly, no, but infer to, yeah, no, really, this space, it's really challenging because you have to understand that I know there's a certain level of grit that goes into people building their brand and their identity. Um, LeBron had to put in a trademark license for Taco Tuesday, you guys, and he couldn't get it, right? Because you can't trademark Taco Tuesday. But if somebody actually has some of that information out there that's legitimate, I recommend doing what you need to do for your business. And if that's lawyering up, then you need to do that. You need to take whatever measures for yourself are the ones that are going to keep you in best interest. Because at the end of the day, like we talk about social media and it's all fun and games because we're using a hashtag, but like what you got to understand is this is how my family eats, right? So what we're not about to do is play with my business. So if that did happen to me, which I'm fortunate I haven't been in that situation, I have had situations where I've had to go back and forth with contracts and get on the same page. And what I tell you this is if it's a civil matter, handle it the way that you need to civilly. And if that is involving a lawyer or getting some second eyes on it, then do your due diligence. Um, and move accordingly. Like I keep that energy with my business because it's serious. And I know that in the world where we're like specifically on that situation, in a world where it's like, well, that's just like a thing that people are saying. So I'm really trying to understand it. You know, it's a battle that you've got to determine is that for you?
I'm interested to see how it will turn out. On Thursday, we are doing a live with a trademark lawyer. I'm interested to see how it turns out because it's just a weird space to be in. Obviously, we all use SD Bestie pretty often, but I guess right
Yeah.
now, while the waters haven't settled, like just don't use the hashtag. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, yeah, I am interested to see how that plays out. I'll be honest, I'm not like crazy invested in it because at the end of the day, like I really do believe like wholeheartedly, like I'm not saying like getting a lawyer is cheap. I'm just saying like if that is the battle that you're fighting, like then do what you need to do. And take the legal matters, take the necessary steps to make sure that you're not, in a situation and at least get that dead so you're not worried about it for yourself. But yeah, I personally, I don't know. I think it's a tricky space to be in. I spoke with a lawyer too. Um Not on that particular situation, but on my podcast, I had her come on and she was sharing some stuff about like contract obligations and different ways to navigate like trademark infringement and all of that stuff. And it's wild. There are so many things that go into it. And even with trademarks and patents and stuff, like even that stuff covers certain things. So like I said, if like it's impacting your business, like you've accidentally named your business this and you had no idea that that was what was going to happen, that's one thing, right? Like I can't tell you what to do. I would get a lawyer. But if it's not that, like I don't know, I'd spell it differently. Even that I know you can get into trouble, but yeah, it's just not a space for me to, I don't know, waste breath on because that's not my battle, I guess. But I know that for this community, that's really hard because you've created this space where tough topics like that do get talked about. Like that's one topic, but we're not even talking about like on the grand scheme where some states are literally having estheticians being told that they can't even perform certain services, right? And that's like taking money off of their plates. Like there's just got to be some level of like, okay, at the end of the day, like this battle is not a battle of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope it works out for everybody involved in that because that's a lot.
I have a business Facebook page now and I have a personal Instagram, but not a.
Nice.
Do you recommend making a separate account for business or should I shift my personal to include business as well? I hope that's not confusing.
Wait, hold on. Are we talking sorry, I was listening and, trying to
So
understand it at the same time.
basically, she has a personal Instagram,
Okay.
does not have a business. Do you recommend having her a business and a personal or merging them together?
Depends on the way that you plan on leveraging social media. So, couple of things with it. Some people say that you gotta have a business, some people you have to have a personal. I really recommend however you plan on leveraging your accounts, just understand that you wanna be transparent with what your message is. So, if you are gonna use a personal page for business, that you're really clear when you're talking business and you're really clear when you're talking personal, right? Because they become two to your client. However, if you are advertising on social media, if you are using Meta and any of those tools, which you should be, I'm a huge fan of 5 Mile Famous by Paul Heaslop. He's the creative genius behind a lot of Circadia's content. Me and him are really great friends. I went through his course in its beta stages, but um, if you are advertising on social media, you need to have these accounts separate because of the way that your advertising is going to be. If you're trying to drive traffic to your business, then you have to post it from your business page. Otherwise, what's going to happen is your personal page is what is used to promote ads. And typically that's not what you want. So um, just think about that there if that's how you plan on advertising. I know just to speak from personal experience, originally I wasn't gonna do my own business page. I was like, it's cool. Like my main Instagram is where I do a lot of my whatever, but I still created a separate page just because I do ads on there.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's
So
just because advertising on Facebook is weird. It's a really weird space. I recommend for anyone who's new to it to go through the 5 Mile Famous program because it literally breaks it down to you so it's simple.
I was actually going to reach out to him.
Yo, I'm so serious. Paul is one of the reasons that I have been able to really like understand content creation. Like I was doing really well before, but like for he just has such a different mindset with it and he looks at it from a different perspective. He handles all of these skincare brands. And when he created 5 Mile Famous with Jake, who is another incredible content creator who has scaled like $1 million businesses. It was like he genuinely came in from the perspective of an esthetician. He started with a whole group of estheticians. He worked through like our struggles and kind of created this really nice platform that just breaks it down so simply. Because before I had went through that program, I had never ran an ad before. And well, actually I had ran an ad, it didn't do well. It like reached nobody. And I spent like $50 to do it. They taught me how to do it with less than dollars a day.
Nice. I was going to reach out and see if they were interested in doing a live.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We can put together like a little formal email. That way we can get something going. Cause yeah, I know they would love that.
That'd be cool. So she said, I just moved to a totally different state. I am solo. I have no clients because I'm new. Yes, that's my question. I'm a makeup artist, by the way.
Makeup artistry is really hard too because a lot of people go to people that they trust, right? And so you haven't built that because you're new to this. You're one overcoming just trying to build clients in general, but then you're new, so you haven't really built that foundation. I personally wouldn't say that I'm the best person to ask on not new to the industry, just new to the area. I get you. I get you entirely because that is really hard, Karen. Being new to the area. There are some resources, like I don't know what booking site you use, but some resources really help you to get clients that are using those booking sites. Like I know Vagaro is really good at that, where like some people who use Vagaro, they use Vagaro for everything. So you might find clients on there. I know that there's advertising opportunities on there too. I think for you, a really good tool would actually be the program that I mentioned. Let me see if I can. I don't, Maria, I do not know how to do this. Let me see if I can send a link about the 5 Mile Famous program because I really feel like that program would be great because the concept of that program is making you the go-to expert within like a 5 mile radius of your locality. And that is using advertising. So advertisement might be a really good tool for you. The other thing is making content and targeting and tagging places that are in the area. Like I tag museums, I tag big events that are going on around here, and I show up on the stories like Kansas Today story or whatever. Those things help too because you can kind of get some traction out there. And then community involvement. This is where you do have to go in person, right? You do have to reach out and leverage the community and see like what ways you can do some type of setup. Maybe not like a booth setup, but you could do, if you do a booth setup, you could bring some products or something and you could do a raffle. And everybody who enters the raffle, you gain information. So now you've got warm leads, but somebody wins a face. Or you could do a face at that event, where people can ask questions. How can they book you? So you really have to get creative and outside the box with that. I hope that helps because I know that was a lot of random, but it really takes all of those things hodgepodge together.
Different forms of marketing for sure.
Of
But
course.
I think why everything ties back is excuse me, having a really strong social media presence is still important because when you're out there getting those leads and people are like, "Oh, what's your Instagram?" Like if you don't have a very clear message we all know social media is a tool. Yes, there's referrals, yes, all these things, but even when somebody is referring you, more than 9 times out of 10 they're going to send your Instagram.
Yeah.
Like that's just the way it works. Or like, let me DM it to you. So making sure that you have the booking button, making sure you have the bio and all the information on there is why I think this particular Zoom was just super important.
Yeah, I agree. And I also will say just in general, y'all, somebody mentioned it and I wanted to go back. Confidence is key. I can't wish I could remember who said that. Um, confidence, who was it? It was Karen. Yeah. Hey Karen. Hey, Karen again. I love it. Confidence is key because here's the reality. People who are doing it, they're not better than you. And I know you've heard this before. I'm not even saying it like they're not great. I just mean that they're just somebody who tried it and they are currently trying it. And what you're watching and witnessing is people trying and just literally again and again and again. And that is really what it is. So the sooner that you step into whatever space that is, the better for yourself. You gain the confidence to create on social media and you gain the skills because you show up and you do it. And it takes that level of commitment, but you do well. And that's why I think leveraging social media can be a really big game changer for you as a content creator because in a world where you have instant access to people, you've got to know how to do it.
How do you recommend is there any apps that you recommend for content creation?
Absolutely. Captions, one of my favorite apps. Captions does a lot of fun things, right? It has AI Zoom, which allows you to add animation to your content. Captions can change your language. It can literally change how you're talking and speaking. It can, translate that for you. It adds the actual caption so people have a better retention. So Captions is a great app. I love Canva. I know everybody's using Canva. Don't stop using it. It's amazing. This is how I make all of my thumbnails for YouTube. This is how I make all of my banners. That's right. Captions. That's the one.
Oh, you guys download it.
It's really great. It really is. I mean, the tools and resources available out there are great. KindMaster, do you use Canva Pro or just basic Canva? I do use Canva Pro because of the level of content that I create. Just full transparency, I don't just make content for my business. I freelance and I also edit content for others, other estheticians, other people out there who don't want to bother with it. That's where you can bother me with it. I'm happy to do it for you. But so I use Canva Pro. Also, I use Canva Pro because it just unlocks so much more. It's worth it. KindMaster is my editing app. I also like Adobe, but Adobe is a little too advanced in terms of like when I'm just trying to get something out, I don't want to be wasting my time with all of that extra stuff. So KindMaster is very user friendly, super easy. It's affordable as well. And some people don't want to have, how do you like CapCut? Love it. CapCut's great as well. Especially like the fact that it simplifies your templates. You can kind of plug and play and go and make something that maybe you're not the best at like freehand editing. This makes you look super like credible. So I like CapCut. I know a lot of people like CapCut, and there's a lot of fun things that you can do in there. That's a great app as well. And then there's one other. Let me go look real quick and see because there's one other that I'm not. Oh, I've talked about it already. Chat GPT.
That's
So we talked about chat gpt because like we talked about lazy content and I'm not saying that you're lazy by using chat gpt. Here's what I mean. If you're going to use chat gpt to do anything, which I've done a lot with it, I've done programs, I've made mentorship groups, I've built courses, all that stuff. It really does. It takes a little bit more work though. So what I do is I name my thread, whatever it is that I'm going to be working on. So let's use my business for example. Skin is in profile. That's the name of my business, Skin is in. So I build a profile for it. I talk about who my target client is, what my ideal client is, how much they're making, the demographic, the area, the location, the verbiage, the way that all of it. I feed all of that to Chat GPT. I also ask Chat GPT, I'm like, what information do you need from me to make this a more complete profile? What other things am I missing that I'm not covering? And in doing that, it allows me to build my Chat GPT profile in a way that's actually going to be better so that the content that it feeds to me is actually more specific. So Chat GPT can do a lot for you. And if you're not using Chat GPT, I think you really are doing yourself a disservice. I saw a good question. What was it? What's a good booking app that's easy for clients to use? I hear a lot of people going back and forth between Gloss Genius, Vagaro, the new one, Style Seat, all of them. I really think you have to think about your budget and where you are. Some of them are similar pricing. Some of them are not. Some of them are not. I know that Gloss Genius has levels to it. So does Vagaro. So does Style Seat. And there's so many out there. I use Gloss Genius. And I really like it. I have seen a lot of success. There are things that aren't in Gloss Genius that I look at maybe switching to a different software system like Vagaro, because I do like the membership idea. I like packages. So you really have to think about, does it solve your issue? And is it a long-term solution for you?
Vanessa raised her hand.
Oh, sorry.
What about for like free music that you can have like in your backgrounds of like videos, or is there any apps or any website you recommend for that?
Yeah, good question. So for YouTube, especially if you're making YouTube content, because like I told you guys, I am monetized on YouTube, you cannot get paid and post videos that are copyrighted. You will get copyright strikes and eventually your content will get taken down. Now there's been some changes where you just won't get paid. I actually recommend this. It is a paid resource. I wish there was a free one, but the level of quality that I've found with free ones is just not there. It's called Epidemic Sound, and it has such good music on there, like people who are up and coming artists who are comfortable with you using their content. And are we saving this video for future play? Yes, I think we are. But yes, so Epidemic Sound. Let me find, because I actually do have. I'm so sorry. We're gonna have to get together some codes and stuff for you guys, because I have codes for you guys, but I think I have one for Epidemic Sound. If you've never used it, I highly recommend it. It has over, thousands and like 40,000, like 100,000 something tracks of just music that you can use in the background. You can do sound effects, you can do all types of fun stuff, but we'll get some codes for the replay and I'll get them added to it so you guys can get those, because yeah, Vanessa, that's a great question. You don't want your stuff being taken down. Oh, speaking of sounds, original audio on Instagram and TikTok does well. That's it. There's nothing else really to it. You talking and doing a voiceover, even with no music, is going to do really well because people love to see you. Your friends and family are going to be like, oh my gosh, is that Vanessa again doing a video? What's she talking about? Right? They're going to tap into it. So I know sometimes we're looking for trending audio. Don't get so wrapped up to the point that you don't make the content. Like, if anything, pop a voiceover over it. One of my best performing videos, it sounded like I hated life and I didn't. I was like, look at this guy get all of this stuff sucked out of his face. He said he wanted to work on his skin. I was like, I can help you with that. And we did it. And this is the service, book me. I booked so many people from that video. No trending sound. It didn't go viral. It just did what it needed to do for the people that I needed to serve. Hopefully that makes sense.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah. This was fun. This was fun. I really like this. I love talking about social media. I love talking about getting out of your own way and just being comfortable with creating content, because I think we take ourselves so seriously that, like, just a full like transparency moment. Like, I shared with Maria off the call another time, but when I first started making content, someone literally bullied me and was like, she shouldn't be making content. Oh my gosh. And they like sent all these people to comment and I was like freaking out. In reality, it was like 3 people, but in my mind, I was like, everybody hates me. Like, oh my gosh. And I survived it and I was fine. And it went on and it wasn't even a big deal when I look back at it. Right. And that's really what this is. It's really not that big of a deal. You trying to put yourself out there is just, it's a necessary part of life and you're just trying to create a difference for yourself. So like, don't ever feel like you have to apologize for that at all. Yeah. I'm a massage therapist as well. I currently only book through DMs, phone calls, emails, texts. Seems to work for me, but as I grow my social media presence, should I really look into online booking? Yeah, I've steered clear of it in the past because I don't want to take the personal touch out of it. Ooh, Susan. I understand that. I understand that. I do because especially with massage, I've noticed that massage clients, um, it's just sometimes a little different, you know, like that intimate connection is great. I would say eventually you're going to get to a space to where I mean in hoping, right? Like I don't know what your goals are with your business, so I don't want to like speak something that's not what you're trying to do, but eventually you're going to get to a space where that can't work, right? Like you can't be the one who's like, hey, yeah, I got you, but I got you down, right? Like if you can give some of that to your clients, you'd be surprised the level of like, oh, I'll just go in and get myself on the schedule, that it takes off of your plate so that you can focus on some of the other aspects of it. Um, I love the personal touch. Maybe even think about it this way. People go through your booking site, right? So you have an automated system for new people who don't know you, who have never interacted with you. But after they book, you're like, hey, I'm Susan. I'm so excited to have you in today. Here's some things to know about coming in. Can't wait to see you. Or, hey, I saw you booked again, friend. I can't wait to see you on Tuesday. You can still have those personal elements, but adding in that structure can really help a ton. And just like trying to cover so many hats, right? You're just wearing so many that eventually you might struggle with that. I don't know, it sounds like you're doing really well with it, but if you're asking that question, maybe you're considering that this is kind of getting to a place where it can't just be you only. And the level of booking service that you invest in does not have to be insanely costly. So do your research and see what works for where you're at. And you might be in that place where you're like, you know what, I don't care how much it is. But if you've never paid for it, you might not feel like that's a necessarily a cost expense that you need to take on. So really just think about it. But that's just a different perspective.
So the replay will be on YouTube. I did put the link to the website, so you guys please subscribe to the newsletter to stay up to date. That's my goal. I'm trying to be better at newsletters, but it's hard doing all the back
You're
stuff.
doing it. You're doing it. You're better at newsletters. You're doing it. It's happening.
It's already
And
happened.
it's hard.
But for sure, expect this up within the next 48 hours on YouTube. If you want to email me the links, I'm more than happy to add them to
I
the
will.
yeah. And we'll add all the info. Is there any
Yeah.
more questions that you guys would like to ask?
Yeah. And let me tell you guys how you can connect with me. So look, don't be a stranger. Go to my Instagram. My name is Chandali. That's Chandali. I talk to everybody. I don't mind. I love answering questions. I love helping. If there's something that we didn't cover here, I promise you, we've talked about it on my YouTube channel as well. My YouTube is Chandali the Esthetician. It's really just a good breakdown of everything that you can imagine. Good days, struggle days. I've documented some of my hardest days, and just still finding the motivation to pull through. I've documented some of my insane wins, like grants for my business and all of this money and all that great stuff where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. Right. All of that's on there so that you can check it out. And I just hope that it's inspirational for you to try, right? But not just try, to do. So thank you guys for listening today. I appreciate y'all.
So there are the links, and then I put your YouTube in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
Like there's the other one, and then yeah, I thank you so much for doing this. We totally have to do this again.
Absolutely.
Lisa had one more question. She raised her hand.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, last question. When it comes to ads and paying for them, like me personally, I have paid for ads, but I had no idea that it was gonna send it out to like people nowhere near my area, and it was like the wrong audience. What maybe have I like did I do wrong? Because I know it does help you like narrow it down, but I've done it for
Yeah.
like beauty lovers, and it's just still the same problem. Like it sends out my ads to like people across the country, and they're like, oh,
And it's like, how do I book? And it's like, you can't because
yeah,
literally we're not in the same spot.
how do I get it to be like around my area? Or like even when you said reaching out to people within your area, how do you know they're in your area? Like what tools are you using to know that information?
Yeah, you know what? I had this exact same question, Vanessa, and this is probably like this is definitely going to have to include bringing Paul and Jake on for 5 Mile Famous, and I'm going to tell you guys why. Um, I did not know that. I didn't know how to run ads at all, and I just knew that I needed to do something different, right? And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so hard," because that is exactly like you. It literally was going to random people, and, like, when they would respond, I genuinely had the same thing. I was like, "Oh my gosh, somebody wants to come." They're in California, like, you can't we're not in the same space. I'm in Kansas. So, when you are running ads, going through what's called a funnel is going to be your best friend. And I know right now that makes 0 sense if you've never if you've never done an ad or never done funnel marketing before. But going through and creating a funnel is how you target clients, and you can actually build within the advertising system. So like in Meta, when you're going into Business Suite and stuff, you can actually specify like how close you're reaching out to, and it allows you to break it down in really, really good detail. However, I learned that going through the 5 Mile Famous program. Before that program, I'm telling you right now, I had no idea what I was doing. And so going through the program helped me a ton, and I really feel like it can help you as well. I'm going to get so I think they've got like some special discount going on right now. I'm not really too sure the exact pricing of the program, but hold on. I'm trying to get into my ad center so I can tell you what area it was
Is it a
that I was.
YouTube channel or Instagram page or anything like that?
Can I share her mine?
Yeah, sure yours. It's so when you're running ads, your Meta is connected to your Instagram and it should be connected to your Facebook. So, oh, you've got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So on your Instagram, do you see how it says boost ads? So you hit boost ads and you want to go like mine that I named it because I love to name things super cheesy. It's called Skincare for Lovers 2022. And my demographic is women 30 to 45. And I put the specific address and I had put it in a 10-mile radius. So either between 5 miles or 10-mile radius. One, because of the area that I'm in, I'm Studio City, Sherman Oaks, Beverly Hills.
Yep.
And then I went down as specific to, so let's say you hit edit. And then you hit interest. So see where it says gender and females?
Yeah.
And then you go down to like interests and like everybody, so anybody who likes hydrofacial, facials, Kate Somerville image. So I'm basically like feeding off of those. And then here, done. But you want to make sure that you're putting your location.
Yes. So yes, 100% that with your location. Like for me, I literally put like my studio. I went in and I was like, this is exactly where I want it to run, and I didn't make it run outside of that. Let me pull up my campaign really quick because you do want to. I didn't waste a lot of time with let me go in here and see like interest and stuff like that, just because right now it's hard to explain because I personally wouldn't be the one to explain it. I really believe like Paul should be the one who's talking about it. But when you're going in here, and I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna set something up with that. But when you're going in here, like Maria's saying, like it having your location is really good, where you're at, who you're trying to reach, the age specific, and then you don't want it to be like 100,000 miles or something. You want it to be exactly where you're at. But you're going to run these ads in a series is what ends up happening with funnel marketing. So you reach out, you just kind of get your name out there so people know who you are. And then you kind of strike a chord where you're like explaining to them a little bit more of like what services you offer. The initial ad could be something where you're just answering a question. Why should you wear sunscreen? Let me tell you why. And then that second ad is going to be more of your middle funnel. You're going to be talking a little bit more in detail about like services that you could do for people, but you're not asking anybody to book yet. Your last ad that you run is now the people who have all reached out to you. They've seen it, they've clicked on it, they expressed interest. Now you're literally expressing to them, okay, I need you to come in. here's my special offer to you for seeing this ad, book today. It's called top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. It's funnel marketing. That is the best way. And I will get the 5 Mile Famous info, because 5 Mile Famous literally breaks it down with screenshots, videos, walkthroughs. It helps you build your first ad, like all of that stuff. So the first ad I had ever ran, I had only reached, I actually have it here. Let me see if I can pull it up. I had only reached like, let me go back here, like 100 people in the first ad that I ran. And I was like, okay, well, this was stupid. Why did I do this? Because this didn't really make me any money. I'm on my computer, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to show you something that's on my computer. I reached 110 people. I spent $5.65. When I went through the 5 Mile Famous program that taught me how to target people in my exact area, I reached 2,200 people off of $24. And those are real people, right? And then I kept targeting those people until eventually they've either seen my ad so much that I'm their famous esthetician, because my ad comes up the most in their area, to the point that they book. And that is how I book a lot of clients currently. I literally just had a client who said she Googled and searched best esthetician in the area. Because of my advertising strategy, I come up first. So if you're interested, we'll get you information for 5 Mile Famous, because, and I'm literally just talking to you guys about it as going through the experience. That's what
Love
worked
that.
really well for me, not necessarily that I work for them, because I don't.
We totally have to do live with them. I think it'd be super helpful.
I'm
But
telling you.
But see, there's steps and there's levels to this. Before you start the 5 mile radius, you got to make sure Instagram is doing what it needs to have on it.
That was what I found out. I went through the radius thing and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. The booking site that I had people going to was not really turning the results that I wanted. I was like, oh, even if I get an audience, like I need to know what I need to make sure I'm ready for what they're about to receive.
Okay, let's say that. After doing the 5 mile radius, even though we're done, we're not done yet. After doing the 5 mile radius, what were things that you needed to change on your Instagram to be able to get those leads and that success?
Okay, so the first thing I need to start talking about, like what I was targeting, right? Because was making ads and I just wanted people to come. I had to get really specific about what is the service that I provide. Am I an anti-aging specialist, right? Am I corrective skincare? What does that mean? Like I had to get really specific so that when people did go to my Instagram, they wanted to book. At
Niche.
first it was just like, oh, I do some facials over here, and then I do some waxing, and then I do body treatments, and I do a little contouring. And people were like, okay, she's kind of all over the place. So I had to get very clear in figuring out, like, who am I serving? Does my content, is my content even created to serve those people? And that allowed me to figure out a little bit more of identity. I should have known that before I started running ads, right? Because that was money wasted, that I wasn't really targeting my true client. And so that was something that I wish I would have known before. The other thing that I needed to have was I needed to have a very clear call to action. You guys, you cannot expect people to just infer, like they're just going to be like, oh, let me go in here and book that facial. They don't know you. They don't know your facial treatment. They don't know what that means. They're not an esthetician. So if they're looking to solve dry skin and your facial is called the Hawaiian Blue Devil, like that's not going to make, they don't know to book that. So you have to be very clear, like, hey, if you're someone who's dealing with dry skin this season, make sure you book my ultra hydrating facial. It's by going to the link right here, clicking hydrating facial and picking the time that you want. You literally have to help them do it. And I just was not. I would like show people a facial and I'm like, thinking they would be like, I need that. No, they needed me to tell them how to book it and what to book.
I love how you said hydrating facial, because I was like, the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory just came out. I'm totally gonna do a chocolate facial. But what is that serving them? It's not.
You have to understand that, like, sometimes we know stuff and you have to remember, like, go back to when you did not know, right? Like you didn't know that this is what it was. If you're like calling something an enzymatic antioxidant facial, like people don't know what that means. So you've got to literally be like, this facial is my ultra glowy facial. And then you can give some more depth behind it. But if you give people a little bit more detail up front in what they're getting, they'll book it. Because I'll tell you what, my most booked facial, you know what it is? My customized facial. You know why? Because they don't know what to book. So nobody ever comes in and is like, you know what I need? I need that $385 cryofacial. I just do. They're not thinking that. They're thinking, how can I get my problem solved? And really, what's the most cost effective way for me to do it? So you just got to be mindful of that when you are naming products, when you are sending clients. Like, I ended up having to then backtrack and get ready when I should have been ready, and I was making that move of advertising.
So I guess to get a little clear, what you changed was your vision. You identified the facial, and then did you make any changes to your Instagram profile?
Yeah, I definitely changed more of what kind of content I was making because, again, my content wasn't doing a call to action. It was just like, and here we are. Thanks again. Or it just kind of gave you that vibe, but it wasn't really more intentional. So I got a little bit more intentional on the content I was making. And then also I started steering my content more to target locally in my area. So that's why I was talking about, like, I was tagging local places and monuments and things like that, including my business, using those hashtags. Like, we have something called the exploration place here. It's like this really fun science center. So I would tag the exploration place because when people are looking for stuff to do in the area, maybe you want to go to the exploration place, maybe you want to come to Skin is In and get a facial. I don't know, but I'm trying to put myself in that bucket. So afterwards, I really just reevaluated, like, what are the clients that are coming to me seeing, and is this going to get me booked?
Is it going to get you booked? I love this. We are totally going to do this again. Do you guys have any questions?
Is this all on Instagram? Definitely want info on 5 Mile Famous. 5 Mile Famous is on Instagram. Tell Paul Chandali sent you. Okay. If you go over there, it's just 5 Mile Famous on Instagram. They are. And we will make sure you guys get links. We'll get them posted in the group for sure. I'll tell Paul to get over here and get in the group. I'm sure he is, honestly, because I saw all of the Circadia fam is in here. Yeah, all my babes there. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But 5 Mile Famous is a really good resource. I recommend it for estheticians. I haven't found anything like it on the market.
I want to say before you get 5 Mile Radius, though, I'm going to make a post. You need to make sure your Instagram is ready. So let's get ready. Let's stay ready so you don't have to get ready, okay?
Yes, that is right. That is right. Because I posted on YouTube recently, just today. So if you go over there, just know I'm not always that spicy, y'all. But I posted about just being transparent about really doing the work in advance because you can't get where you're not ready to be, and that is where you're going to struggle. You're only going to have more problems until you have perfected some of the systems that you have now, and then you're in a place where it's like, okay, cool. Like the common question of being like, what should I post? I believe you should post whatever you're going to post consistently, right? Like, I could tell you to post 1,000 reels, but if you're not going to post reels at all, like, you're only going to post before and after. So you need to post that. Right? We've got to kind of work where we're at and then grow before you go spend money. Just think about that.
Do you think bilingual is good on social media? Yeah.
Yes. In fact, I have a really good friend. Her name's Ashley Garcia. She's from Circadia. She actually owns Ash Aesthetic Beauty Bar and Ash Aesthetic Beauty Bar. I don't know why I always say it wrong like that. My bad. But she's great because she is really trying to create space for like bilingual content and making sure like you're getting content in both formats. And I think it's intimidating when you are trying to do something that people aren't catering to you, right? Like, they're not even thinking about it. They should be, but unfortunately, like, that's just kind of the society we live in. You've got to create space for that 100%. I have clients right now that are who only speak Spanish, and we're literally trying to figure out how I can help them. So I ended up actually sending them to my client, to one of my really good friends who speaks Spanish, because like it makes sense, right? Like you should be getting the support in a space that where you have that support, and this is just another obstacle that we're having. So I encourage it. I think there's a space for it, and just ask yourself, is this something I would have needed? Because if it's true that you needed it, oh, there's so many more out there that need it. Yeah, so please please show up and make content in English and in Spanish, and don't feel like you have to do both in the same piece of content.
I feel like you gave us the best advice. I feel like everybody, I don't know about you guys, but I am on fire. I am so excited. Thank you for taking the time to meet us. They did ask me, will there be a replay? It will. If you're not subscribed to the newsletter, please do so. I'm going to put the
Nice.
link again. I also put, let me see her YouTube information.
Yes, thank you.
Is right there. She has the best social media, and we will get that 5-mile radius live going so you guys can find out more. And yeah, thank you so much for today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Maria. Thank you guys. Thanks, group. Y'all have a good day.